One thing that I don't like about a lot of dating advice that I see online is it's too specific. So I'll explain what I mean. When you look at what is attractive to women, there's not one set thing. There are, people often say that like men are nature's experiment. There are lots of different ways, lots of different sort of prototypes, if you will, of what's attractive to women. So in one sense, you could be a really charming, sort of charismatic, funny guy, who's a bit cheeky, You could be really sort of withdrawn and sort of that sort of Sigma male sort of body language, like Tommy Shelby or someone like that. You could be really macho, very standoffish, very muscular. You could be, a sort of romantic, passionate musician, something like that. And everyone's got their different ways of doing it, and I think it's sort of cross-cultural. Different cultures have different ways of doing it. I always think the Italians are very sort of, the guys anyway, are very sort of passionate. They're really sort of they're really sort of confident, but they're really romantic, like they'll really just be really upfront with the girl and, how much they like them. The Russians and the Eastern Europeans, much more sort of standoffish, more sort of macho. And, you could sort of have fun with, this kind of stuff all day. But I'll just draw this up to sort of really remember that there are lots of different ways to be attractive. And obviously, to an extent, you need a little bit of everything. You could be the most charming fucker who's ever lived, but if you're a complete wimp, you're not going to get very far. You could be really muscular, but if you're just really autistic and you've got no social skills, you're not going to get very far either. You need a bit of everything is useful, but fundamentally there's going to be one sort of thing that sort of way for you to be attractive. I don't think it's as simple as just these sort of archetypes that I've mentioned. I think it goes even deeper into the level of the individual. I think everyone has sort of very specific gifts, sort of that determine how they're attractive to women, But I think basically the secret to being attractive is just realising your gifts and allowing them to really shine forth and really developing them in the right way. Anyway, to go back to dating advice, I think the problem with a lot of dating advice that I see is that you'll get one guy who has his formula on lockdown. So let's say this guy is really confident and really sort of alpha. He's a really confident guy, and he's very attractive to women. From that, he'll then do like a course of like how to pick up women, and he'll go into. He won't say any of what I've said right now. He'll go into the real specifics of what makes him attractive in the way he has managed it. So he'll often say things like, what you want to do is, walk up to a woman and say this. He'll give specific examples of things that you need to do. But the problem is, this is the number one rule, is that you can't copy someone else's sort of way of doing it. Because what's attractive more than anything else is authenticity. People can tell when you're reading off a script. You can't really fake it. And this is the problem. So, he's just giving you all these specifics, but the fundamentals are not really being covered. It's like lesson 1 of learning Arabic. You go sit down and a teacher gives you a quill, like a fancy pen and says, okay, let's do some Arabic calligraphy. You know, we haven't got to there yet. You know, again, that's details. You don't need to know how to do Arabic calligraphy. If you haven't got the basics down, you don't know how to actually read and understand the language. Now, don't get me wrong, Arabic calligraphy is a huge part of the language, and it's really important to, you know, to sort of really respect the language, to like know the sort of how calligraphy works in Arabic, and, you know, I mean, there's a whole other thing there. Basically, you know, Arabic has this amazing history of calligraphy, but, you know, it doesn't say, not say that stuff isn't important, but surely the more important thing is to get the fundamentals down. You know, understand the alphabet. What's a verb, you know, in the language? How do you conjugate the verbs in the language? Let's learn some vocab, you know, that kind of stuff. And, you know, it's not an exact analogy, but I think similarly with dating, you need to go to the, improving your dating life and being attracted to women, you need to go down to those raw fundamentals of, well, just, again, this sounds very cheesy, but sort of embracing what makes you attractive. So, just this might be a bit of a bad example, but there's this TV show called Gomorrah, which is like this Italian sort of crime TV show, and there's this guy in it who's like this big fat sort of mafia boss, and he's sort of the son of this other, you know, boss. But anyway, he's, you know, a lot of the series is just like his sort of escapades with women, and he's really good at, you know, women just love him. You know, he's just super confident and super sort of, you know, he's got a sort of aggressive energy about him. You know, like no one wants to fuck with him, that kind of thing. And for a while I thought, okay, maybe that's what I need to be more like. But then I sort of look at myself and I think, but I've got so much that character doesn't have. You know, like, I'm skinny. You know, I'm thin. I've got, like, you know, a much nicer frame, much more attractive frame. You know, let's use that. You know, I'm probably better looking than him. You know, I probably have more of an intellectual capacity than he is. You know, he's way more aggressive, way more, you know, don't fuck with me kind of thing. You know, he's got plenty of strengths, but, you know, it's not like these strengths that I have are still important, and they still have the potential. So why not, instead of just completely smashing the tower to the ground, why don't I work with what I've got? And that's the attitude that I've taken. And I think this is the key thing, just to sort of sit yourself down and think, what have you got already? And, you know, this doesn't mean like where there are weak spots, you shouldn't then go and fix it. Like for me, I think there's a lot of stuff about sort of personal image. You know, I sort of fix how I see myself. I need to start seeing myself as a success with women. You know, I think there's a lot with life setup. I need to just make friends with more women. You know, get myself out there more. You know, there's stuff that I need to fix there. But don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. And don't waste your time trying to learn specific things that work for someone else that you know, you won't even need to use. You know, like, I won't need to go up to someone and sort of say someone else's line. You know, that isn't how it should work. I'll just have my own, I'll come up with my own thing in my own time. Because you've only got your own way of doing it, really. I know, like, in the game and these pickup artist communities, like, people do successfully memorize lots of lines and, oh, did you see the fight outside with the, you know, and they can sort of just, they get really good at it, they just really practice chatting up women in this really specific way. But first of all, the amount of practice that takes is just hideous, you know. Like, it's quite sort of an autistic, not autistic, but like very sort of nerdy kind of community for that reason, because, you know, it's just, I don't know, I think that kind of approach just doesn't really have any longevity, and there's a much easier way to do it, which is just to really sink into what you are, and then, you know, improving the things that need to be improved. You know, if you had a car, let's say, that didn't work, but the tyres were fine, you wouldn't go, you know, the engine was on fire, but the tyres were fine. You wouldn't go, oh, well, you know, that car has nicer tyres, so let's change the tyres on this car as well. You know, you just say, no, just leave the tyres alone, there's nothing wrong with them. Let's fix the engine. You know, that's the thing that needs to be fixed. You know, all that matters is the car needs to drive at the end of the day. And this is the other thing, is you don't really need to be able to fuck loads of women really quickly. You just need to be able to get a girlfriend or get a wife, or, you know, whatever it is. You know, that's what most people, I'm convinced, want deep down. You know, maybe there are some exceptions, but I think most people who watch this video, they just want like a girlfriend, or you know, they're just you know, they don't want anything. They don't need to learn how to be the best pickup artist in the world. But there's just no other sort of content about how to pick up women, so they end up going to pickup artists who are really good at picking up women. Lots of them, you know. But that says nothing about their ability to actually, you know, find a good relationship and stick to it. So, you know, I just think, don't do what you don't have to do. You know, most likely you're fine as you are. You don't need to go and change your style or change, you know, your hairstyle and stuff. Yes, but, you know, improve stuff like basic hygiene, you know, wear nicer clothes, but you don't have to change your whole wardrobe, you know. You know, if you're more laid back and more withdrawn, you don't need to become a super charismatic guy just because a pickup artist told you to, because he was super charismatic and it worked for him. No, you know, use what you've got. If you're more withdrawn and more sort of, you know, just sink into that, you know, and become more of a sort of Tommy Shelby character, you know. If you're really sort of intellectual and you're really clever, you know, and you can just really have these really deep conversations with girls about really interesting things, you know, use that. You know, don't think, oh, I have to become massively, horrendously muscular to attract women. It's like, you don't need to do that unless, you know, don't do it for its own sake, is what I'm getting at, you know. I think having the conversation, having the ability to have a really deep conversation with someone, that's good enough, you know. No pickup artist is going to tell you what it is that really is going to work for you, but I just think, I don't know, I just think so much of it is just found within. So this is not telling me like you shouldn't improve yourself. I think if you want to get a relationship, you need to find your weak areas, but don't improve everything just for the sake of it, you know. Focus on small things that really, where you can really get into the detail, and that will be the way to do it. So anyway, guys, thanks very much for watching. I hope you found this helpful, and I'll see you in the next video.